Hi guys, this is the girl in the middle again, coming to you with another episode. If you haven't already, please subscribe, comment and like, and let me know what other content that you want to see. It's my second video, so please be nice. I'm gonna do my best to get more professional as time goes by. Today we're speaking about a really personal conversation that I haven't been able to ignore in my own life, and that is retrenchment. After 5 retrenchments, I figure I definitely am the person that is, equipped to be in the driving seat of this type of conversation. I do want to just forewarn that a lot of my videos are going to be short and sweet, just for the sake of your data, but also for the sake of interest. I don't think I'm interesting beyond 20 minutes, but let's see how it goes. So retrenchment to me is a very important conversation because I've been retrenched 5 times in my career. I'm 31, so you can imagine how many of those happened. And I think what we tend to kind of ignore is how that in time starts to affect your work confidence, and how it starts to affect how you perceive yourself, the work that you're putting out. And you have this constant question about, why is it always me? I don't know if I'm gonna get deep into all of the emotion of that, because again, I don't think 20 minutes is enough for the emotion. However, today I do want to share the most important things that we need to make sure that we think about, do, and request of our employer before stepping into whatever the world has to offer us. So yeah, this is the video on retrenchment. I don't want to make it too sad, because obviously it is a sad situation, but I want to start by saying that it's not your fault. And the very definition of retrenchment explains to you that if you have been retrenched, you are not retrenched because of something that you've done, but because of where the business or the organization needs to go, or whatever restraints or constraints that they might be going through at the time. My last retrenchment was in May this year. I was what I thought was thriving. At a job, I was enjoying myself, working super hard to prove myself at the same time, and that still happened to me. Again, the other thing I think is because being in the events business and working outdoors, it became very difficult to do any of that during lockdown. And so from that perspective, I understand why it was necessary. It doesn't change the fact that it's really jarring to experience. It doesn't change the fact that it's really scary as a human being to experience it more than once. So I hope that there is some value in the conversation that we have today. I'm going to start off also, if I look away, it's just to look at my notes. They're on my right hand side. I won't obviously be speaking from my head the whole time, but I'll make sure to give you the majority of my attention. So number 1, first thing that I think, let me first say the 5 things that I think that you need to make sure that you get from your employer before you leave. The first thing is that they must give you a fair reason about why this actually happened. It's very important to get into this conversation. You deserve it. It is documented, but it is also part of the retrenchment process that they sit you down and give you what they call a written notice that kind of explains to you where the business is and how they came to this decision. Inside that written notice is all the information you need that will appease you about why this has happened and what has brought the business or the organization to this place. The second thing is there must be a meeting where your employer sits you down with that written notice and gives you an opportunity to revert, to ask more questions, or to point out things that you feel have not been put in the document. That is also a very important phase of yours. And again, I guess it also further proves that this is not your fault. If the employee is saying that there is absolutely no way that we can keep you, at the very least, they can give you all the information as to why. What I understand anyway about the retrenchment process from an internal perspective is they do need to go through all the options. Could we have moved the person? Could we have created another position that needs filling anyway? Is there anything that we could have done internally? There's things like the overall retrenchment list of people, maybe it's 5, 3 people, 12, whatever. You're allowed to see that. You're allowed to have an understanding understanding of how many other people are being retrenched. Obviously, names and surnames, I think those things are classified, and I don't think they're going to make a difference to your experience. But I think what's important to know is that the business is not making this one decision over you. And if they are, your written notice should definitely detail why it is your position is now currently redundant, or whatever excuse they might share with you. Cool. I think number 3 is your employer needs to prove to you that they did everything in their power to keep you. And again, that's where the written notice comes in. That's when they'll be able to detail things like what they've been able to try internally for you. Is if you're in content and you were a content manager, is there something in comms that you can do? Is there something in research or analytics that is still skewed to the same kind of work that they can put you into? All of that information you are allowed to know. Please remember, and that's why I think I started with the thing about retrenchment, is it really breaks your work confidence that you forget that you have rights. You do, and you need to express exactly what you're feeling about the retrenchment, and also do not mince your words when it comes to making sure that you understand every single element that they considered in taking this decision about your life, essentially. You also deserve clarity, most importantly, on your severance pay, on your leave days, and on your notice pay. Go back to your contract, check what your notice pay is, check if there's an addendum that speaks to it. In all instances, you should get paid out your leave days that are remaining. Do note that they will be taxed, so don't be alarmed like I was the first time. And then obviously your severance pay. These are things that I would actually even suggest to people starting a job, that you just make sure are intact, and that you have a clear vision of, should anything happen, how many months will they owe me, that kind of thing. It's important that those clause, or what is the plural for clause? I don't even know what the plural for clause is, but I'll find it. So whatever clause that needs to sit under in the contract, make sure that it exists, so that people don't give you the runaround when it's, when or if, knock on wood, it's time to it's time to make a difficult decision like that. Cool. So the second part of this speaks to the things that I usually do, or rather the list of things that I make sure that I've done before I can fully surrender to whatever the world has for me. The very, 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 very first thing that you must do before you leave is make sure that you collect as many references as possible. If you've had a great relationship with safety and health department, if you've had a great relationship with the finance department, and helping them with their processes by being on time, by checking in, by double checking things, or whatever the case is. If you've got emails to that effect, send them to your personal mail. But also, if you've got relationships strong enough for you to ask for a reference letter, do that. Make sure that make sure that your internal references are intact, and also make sure about your external references. So stakeholders that you might have worked with, people who might have spoken to you on a daily basis, that know the level of client service you bring, or anything like that. Those references go very far. So make sure, to the best of your ability, that with the understanding that you have been let go for reasons beyond your control, that they can still step in and say, this was a great person to work with. Sorry guys, my nose is itchy. I've got sinuses. And I don't know if you can hear it, but they're cutting the grass outside. So I'm so sorry about sniffing and rubbing my nose and things like that. Cool. All right, so number 2, I would say, is to definitely register your UIF claim. This one right now is a sensitive conversation for me, because obviously that's what I've done. I did it at the end of May, and I have not received any UIF payments. What I will say that's positive about the UIF online process is that you can do it within about 15 to 20 minutes. It was very quick for me to register. I then started checking every week to see where the progress is, because they give you a bit of a chart that shows you where in the process you are. Has somebody viewed it? Has somebody assessed it? Has somebody approved it? And that was where I found things got sticky. But also, we do know the current climate of South Africa and the situation with UIF and the looting of those funds. So I think because there's a hold on everything, unfortunately, I haven't had a payment come out since I've requested one, and we're going to the end of October. So that's why I'm saying it's a touchy subject for everybody, in the sense that, yes, it's one of those things you need to do, but our country's infrastructure or ethics don't really cater to what UIF is supposed to do for us right now. But I would say that even with that understanding, rather just do it anyway. Make sure that you're logged in, make sure that you logged on, and that you've logged your retrenchment as soon as possible. Make sure that that is a priority of yours so that you are in the system, because rather you have the proof that you tried than be part of people who, you know, are complaining but they didn't really try. So I would definitely still suggest that you go onto the UIF online, register your account, check and make sure that your past employees have been putting your money into that system. There is a grid that will show you past places that you've worked, when they started paying, when they stopped paying. So make sure that all of that stuff is up to date, and if it's not, click onto the contact us bar and speak to somebody either on WhatsApp or email address that can, well, let me actually not even, I don't want to sell a dream and say email address, because it has been a very terrible and tedious process around UIF this year because of this situation that we have. But again, I will always encourage that you, from a personal perspective, are in absolute line with all the administration that you need to complete before you can sit down and be like, okay, now I can surrender the process. The second thing that I would definitely suggest you do is to sort out your references, both internal and external references. Your internal references refer to the people that you've had great relationships with, departments that you might have made a difference in. If you've gotten an email from someone to say congratulations on this, thank you for that, save that, send it to your personal email. But also do the walkabout and just find, you know, speak to the people that you are going to be leaving and let them know, hey, can I get a half pager on how you felt it was working with me, etc., etc. And then do the same with your external, because it's not your fault and it's a retrenchment. You're not going to someone and asking them to lie about how great you were at your job. So go to the clients that you had great relationships with, or you know, depending on what kind of, you know, environment you work in, but go to the external stakeholders that you work with and let them know, this is the case, this is the situation, but I'd really appreciate a reference letter to help me push forward in my future. And so that's definitely number 2 that I would suggest you do. Number 3 is to email all of your commitments and let them know where you stand right now. It's important to call your bank, to call your card, call the insurance people, let everybody know where you stand at this juncture and when you might anticipate being able to start getting back on payments. What I did was I send them an honest email and I say, for the next excuse me. I send an email and I let them know that for the next 2 or 3 months I'll be able to pay, and then after that it's going to be difficult. And then they'll come back and say, okay, well, if you're paying 10 Rand, you think you can pay 2 Rand after 3 months? Then I'll let them know honestly if it's something that I think we should update in the next 3 months when I know where I stand, or I let them know that I foresee not being able to even afford 2 Rand as opposed to 10 Rand. So I would just suggest that you grab that bull by the horns and make sure that you have the conversation with them, because a lot of financial institutions will tell you, we appreciate the fact that you don't have a job, but credit is credit, and it's really important to have that paper trail of you having informed them every step of the way about where you are, about, hey, I've got interviews, so it might be possible that next month I might be able to pay. Hello, still not working. Hello, I'm working now. Please, can you reinstate? Whatever the case may be, but it is up to you to have the conversation with all of the people that you owe. I can tell you that the benefit of that was that when I did that with my car, they said to me, well, there's not much left, so do you want to just collect the last few months and let's come up with a negotiation amount that you can afford, and then this car is yours. And that's what I was able to do this year. So open up the conversation, have the conversation with your financial institution, let them know where you stand, and you never know what type of, you know, help they might be able to offer you. The next thing I would suggest you do is that you obviously upload your CV and things to LinkedIn, Biz Community and stuff, but change the way that you interact, I guess, is more what I'm going for here. I think with LinkedIn and Biz Community, there's an opportunity to have more of an opinion. You can share what you know about brands, you can congratulate other brands, you can share your perspective on stuff. So when you go onto LinkedIn, try and be the person at least once a week that says something in your personal capacity that shows your vigor around brand understanding, that shows your vigor around your industry, and make sure that you're engaging as well. The other thing that I would absolutely suggest is that you get your CV onto things like Job Repeater, Careers, PNet. It's nothing new. I understand, like, it's nothing new. This is not new information, but I just think that the way that we relate to things like LinkedIn is very important. I'm not saying you have to reply to every DM that you get about this opportunity and that opportunity, but I think that you do have a really great opportunity, the same way you have on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, to have an opinion about something. LinkedIn gives you that opportunity to be able to speak to tastemakers in the industry, to be able to have an opinion on work they've done, or speak about things that you wish were different. That catches people's eye in a different way, and I would invest in that kind of thing for sure. Then lastly but not least would come the brand list. So I have two lists. The first list is not ever changing, but it kind of evolves. It's a list somewhere between 5 and 10 jobs that I can do well, based on my CV, but also based on my understanding of myself. What are those jobs that I can do? That usually feeds into my wish list. My wish list is my wish list of brands that I would love to work with, as well as their email addresses that I've been hustling and hounding for all day. So this is like an admin thing that never really stops. I think you should update it and keep it as fresh as possible. Make sure you have people's email addresses. Call the company and say, hey Joe Public, I'm so and so, can I please have HR's email address, and log it in, so you make sure you always can go back to some kind of list. And what I do with that list is, so I give myself pressure to do about 20 submissions a day, and if I get to about 14 on LinkedIn and Biz Community together, then the other 6 I use my wish list, and I find 6 brands that I haven't spoken to. I send through my stuff. I let them know in the body of the email who I am, what I feel like I can bring. I give them a list of the things that I've chosen that I know I can do well. I pick out the ones that I think focus on what that brand is doing, and then I put that in the body of the email. Make it personal, make it bespoke. This is the one time to introduce yourself. This is the one time where people are not going to see your face or hear your voice. So make sure that the energy of who you are speaks through in the body of the email. Everyone can do a cover letter. Make sure your cover letter definitely speaks to you, and make sure that you are patient enough to put those personal differences in the, don't copy and paste, I guess is what I'm saying. Make sure that it speaks to something. It could speak to a campaign they just got done that you loved. And lastly, but definitely not least, I'm going to talk through 3 things that I think that I would love to see changed within this system. Obviously, 5 times retrenched, there's a lot of errors or systems that could be better for us, and things that don't consider the fact that our means are not the same. And so it's not going to be it's not easy for everybody to get a job. It's not easy for someone to wake up and go to a computer center, log onto a computer. Some people don't even know how to use one, which is a problem on its own. Not their problem, but a problem with South Africa, and not giving people the things that they deserve, type of thing. But that's not a conversation for today. I'm going to keep it at retrenchments, and I guess these are the 3 things for me that always stand out in terms of the frustrations and the things that I wish would change. The first one would be simpler websites. Bad websites with long processes of registering and stuff don't take into consideration the fact that some people might not have the means for that, the data for that, and is it necessary for me to have a fully detailed CV and then have to kind of rewrite it into your format? Is there no easier system, type of thing? I find it to be a little archaic, and I find the majority of the places where we go to find jobs have that system. So where I have seen it different is a lot of the banking and the banks and a lot of the companies that we know in South Africa to be forward thinking tend to just say, please attach CV here, please attach cover letter there, and then you keep it moving. And then what they kind of ask you to fill in is a personal profile so they can get the backstory. But I must say that what is very frustrating is having to, and especially in instances where you can't copy and paste, is having to rewrite and click which date I started journalism, which date I graduated Sure, there is nothing more unnecessary in this world than that. And I just really hope that we get to a place that, look, it's either they update their systems, or if they don't feel the need to, which I could probably imagine is the truth, then you go to, places like 189 Exchange that focus solely on people who are retrenched, and they can help place you in a simpler format. Cool. I think the second thing, there's a note here, so it's not what I'm thinking, it's essentially what I thought earlier. The second note is the assumption that everybody has the same resources is unfair and short-sighted. And so I just think that with these websites, people really need to come to a place where they're making it simpler. And I don't know what the equivalent of that is without a computer, because it's such a tricky time. We're living in such a technological era, but I also don't want this retrenchment video to speak to people with means only, because if you don't have a laptop and you're looking for a job and you want a job at clicks, where do you go type of thing. There are some online on Twitter, and I follow about 3 or 4 places that are always saying, hey, we're looking for this kind of person, looking for that kind of person. And I guess I wish that there was some kind of collective system that worked like that from a social media perspective, like an app or something that lives along with Facebook, where people that are on Facebook, which is the majority of us that are on Facebook, can then go to this portal as if they're going through anybody else's page and put their CV in as an attachment there. So I don't know that we're there. I might just have given an idea away, but I feel like it's very short-sighted that, everybody assumes that someone's got data to spend 45 minutes uploading their CV. Another thing that I hope kind of changes is, the we regret to inform you emails. I think when you get to a certain point in the process, maybe when you're shortlisted or when they're saying to you, hey, we'd like to speak to you, and then they come back to you in a few weeks to say that you didn't get the job. I think what's really important there is for them to give you a bit of background about why you didn't get the job. Because sometimes you find there was nothing missing, and then they found someone internally, or you find that the person that we were going to replace has decided not to leave. Whatever the case may be, you truly deserve to know. And I guess I say when you're shortlisted, because it's a shorter list to deal with. I can imagine popular jobs get thousands of applications, and you can't give people full detail on why they didn't make it. But if you are shortlisted, I think that HR needs to take it upon them to come back to you and not just say we regret to inform you and send you that that copy and paste. I think that it's worthwhile for HR to say we felt like your strategic focus wasn't matched to where we need to be, or we felt like you didn't have this and the person that we've chosen had 5 years of experience in that. Do you know what I mean? I think that there's nothing wrong with getting a little bit more personal with helping people understand why they didn't get a job, because on their side they've gotten 20 of those, and the one that's going to come through and fully explain to them what's missing might very well help them understand what's the next course I need to take, what is the gap in my experience, or whatever the case may be. And I guess after all that is said and done, then you breathe and manage your emotions. Cry it out, feel whatever you need to feel about losing the opportunity, about all the work that you might have put in that you had hoped would flourish into more. Cry it all out in full detail. Think through the emotion, allow yourself to find yourself at the end of the emotion. And I guess what I mean by that is a lot of the time we think halfway and then get anxiety about where we are halfway in the thought. So you think, oh my gosh, okay, I've been retrenched, and I sort of know it's not my fault, but I feel away, and then you stop there, and then that's where you are in anxiety. Take yourself through the emotion and say, okay, I feel away right now. Why do I feel away? Because I really wanted more for this partnership. It didn't happen, and I don't know why. And then you think, okay, but have I survived this before? Yes, I have. Have I thrived before? Yes, I have. So what do I need to do in order to get myself and my mind back on track in order to think about what is possible for me in the rest of the world? That's what I mean by thinking through the thought. Don't allow yourself to get blocked in a place where you are just anxious.
Retrenchment deeply affects work confidence. Dial the numbers below and reach out for help. Log on to 189exchange.co.za and register your profile there too. Thank you all for watching. Next episode coming soon.